Well, welcome to the Women Who Roar podcast produced by SRQ Magazine. Throughout the year, we'll be sharing the stories of leading women in our region to learn about their journey to who they are today and the experiences that have changed them along the way. And today, we are so exceptionally pleased to be able to welcome Jessica Rogers, who's the Vice President of Philanthropy at ChildrenFirst. Jessica, welcome so much to our program today. So glad you could join us.
So thank you for having me. It's a true pleasure.
I wanted to dive in. There's so many things I want to chat about, but the thing that is top of mind right now for me is the SMARTgirl Summit that we hosted this past Friday, and you were one of our mentors for the event. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your takeaways from the day and spending time with all of our 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade girls.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad we're starting there because it was my first time to serve as a mentor for this special summit, and it was a true pleasure. And having the opportunity to meet so many young ladies in our community who have so many different and interesting aspirations to see the world through their eyes and our community through their eyes, and to see and hear the questions that they have from folks like me, to have that opportunity to be able to share with them. It was an honor actually to be able to be a part of it.
I echo the sentiment. We feel the same way every time our team comes around to this time of the year. And this is the first time we've been able to host SMARTgirl. And since the pandemic, it was actually the very first event we had to cancel that March. I feel like this year, in reading through all of our applications, the girls really grew up a lot in the last few years. So much self-awareness of the areas in which they have strengths, which we really focused on this year in the summit, and confidence in things they didn't know, and open to that learning curve, and open to that input and that sort of exploration. Really, really fantastic. So I'm so glad you had a chance to work with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Philanthropy is such a huge industry and is such a huge need in our region. I'd like to have you kind of share a little bit with us. ChildrenFirst has done so much. Tell us a little bit about what you're working on now.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that may not know who ChildrenFirst is, we're a 61-year-old organization here in Sarasota. We're the exclusive provider for Head Start and early Head Start services within all of Sarasota County. And what we really focus on is helping to prepare children and their families who are the most at risk in our community, actually. Those children birth to 5 years old, preparing them for kindergarten and helping to support their families through a wide array of family strengthening services, from everything from family advocacy, coaching, helping those families set a pathway to move out of poverty through supporting them in defining their education, finding that vocational career path. And so really for us, it's about focusing on the entire family, because we know that children are not going to thrive if the whole family is not thriving. And you hear the term failure to thrive a lot in the work that we do. And what we like to say is we want to remove those first 2 words, forever, within this community.
That's powerful. In our SMARTgirl applications, we had asked our girls who had been the most influential sort of partner in working through career and sort of life readiness. And the family and siblings, specifically siblings actually, came up so high. These are family units with grandparents, cousins. Everybody comes together to really form a support network for children. And so having that full family engagement, I think, is such an important part of that experience with ChildrenFirst.
It is. And, a parent is a child's first teacher. And so, to have our parents be thriving and confident in their ability to, not only raise their child, but to navigate, the networks of life for themselves and for their family is really, really critical. And it's really, truly an honor to be able to do this, work here within our community.
Right. I had to ask. So you spent significant time before Children First at New College. So I was imagining sort of the change in culture and the change in sort of how you adapt when you go from, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds down to our 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. Sort of what drew you into the work with Children First, and how is that transition in looking at such a different sort of age group of support and child been like for you in that transition?
Well, it's funny. Education, I really believe, is a great equalizer for us as humans. And I was a first-generation college student, and so to have the opportunity to work in the higher education realm for so many years, to really help students focus on, their education through and providing that scholarship support was so critical, and so it means so much to me. So moving to the early education sphere on the other end of that spectrum,
right down there,
I feel honestly, Liesl, it's the most important work we could be doing in our society right now, is to make sure that our next generations are prepared, they are confident, and they have the footing, that equalized footing through their education and navigating those resources through their life. I feel it's the most important work. So for me, making that switch, while I miss my time at New College, I'm still very engaged. It has been truly exciting, fun, being able to see the change that is being made every day in the lives of our children and their families. That is something that is truly priceless.
I think it's something you probably feel. You understand and you're thinking about it here, but you feel it certainly in your heart.
Every day.
There are many conversations happening, I'm sure in many regions, but ours in specific, about that career and life readiness and how it does begin so early. And we have so many different initiatives and organizations working together to look at those first 1,000 days, to be able to look at kindergarten readiness. And you have a very unique perspective on that, because you're coming from a place where you're at what some might say the matriculating, sort of finished stage of being able to look at our school district and be able to look at our community and say, we did great, we got kids out to that, to that technical school or college or whatnot. But then you're now being able to take those experiences and sort of reshaping that perspective to the younger child. I guess my question would be, is there one thing that stands out to you in having interacted with both generations, where the biggest gap is, what we can be doing the most with to help? It sounds like such a big expansive space, but from the 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds leading up to making sure they're strong and confident when they're reaching their college age.
So in a lot of ways, the network of partnerships is really critical. And in communities, when you have that network of partnerships, that works really well together. And I think we see that a lot happening every day in Sarasota. You mentioned the first 1,000 days and the individual partners. I was just reading their 3-year report. And one of the things that the parents that were surveyed as part of this 3-year report commented on was the positivity and the network of partnerships that they were engaged in. And I think that's really, really critical when, you're working with small children on how to play well in the sandbox.
Oh, right.
And they're moving forward, into elementary, middle, and high school. And we talk to them so much about how, you practice civility. How you work well with your fellow classmates, to be in a community that values partnership. So much of what we do with our families every day is really dependent on our staff, but our staff relationships with our partners and making those things happen. And so I think setting that example within our community, the adults in the room, setting that example and really living that every day is what helps make a difference.
Yeah. So let's roll back a little bit to the younger Jessica. So when we're talking about And you could go all the way back to kindergarten if you have memories that you wanted to share there. But just during that formative stage, what were the sort of, where were you going? What were you wrestling with as your space in the world and claiming that? Tell us a little bit about the younger Jessica.
Yeah, sure. So I would say, the younger Jessica started out, maybe hard to believe, but started out a little bit shy. And maybe thought that people didn't necessarily wanted to hear what she had to say, but was fortunate enough to have individuals in her life, mentors and other great positive role models that kind of would flip those thoughts on their head and be encouraging. So, that was really critical for me as a young person to have people in my life that helped me kind of question that when I wasn't feeling so confident about myself. So, thinking back to those days, and it's really interesting now because I have an almost 11-year-old daughter who's so confident, is just wonderful personality, super smart, super bold. And,
proud mom,
and just thinking about, where she is now, and recognizing and understanding that having that base of support is so critical for all of us. But yeah, I think looking back, those little milestones and steps were so important into kind of building in, to who I am now.
Right. It's interesting, Jessica, so many women who are accomplished and confident and blazing trails will remember how shy they were when they're younger. And it's interesting because I'm not sure where it came from, but this notion that being shy was somehow not the preferred place to be. I was shy. And I'm not really sure where that comes from, because I think we still have that feeling, that sense of if I want to be by myself and I want to be, and I'm not quite sure how to jump in quite yet. I mean, these are observant girls. These are girls who are watching and listening. But nonetheless, we have this sort of tag as shy of like,
that's right.
Don't know if we're going to be successful. Got to try to change that. Where do you think, where does that come from?
Yeah, it's really interesting when you really start to kind of peel back those layers, right? And where, it's probably not just one place, that comes from. I think there's, we all have the inner doubt, that inner self-doubt, right? But I think that what I see changing, at least, amongst my daughter's cohort, is that there's more of an embracing of your individuality, who you are. And
that's great.
You're not always, we're not always the same person all of the time.
Thank goodness.
And we grow and we change and we're different, and that's okay. And so my excitement and hope in that is that we're hopefully starting to shift that narrative a little bit, and to, as you said, being shy. I mean, these are all qualities that we should embrace and support each other in. But that's a little bit of a change that I see, happening now, and it's refreshing.
To not have just one set of standards for how you think you're going to be successful, or indicators of success, and being able to look instead and saying, well, where are you and what do you bring to the table? And we're going to figure out what that formula for you is.
That's right.
In creating your space, rather than, okay, I'll be this or that or that. Those are all outwardly I will subscribe to. And I'm glad to hear that we're, with the younger generation, we're seeing more of, well, this is me. So let me figure out me and where I belong in sort of the fabric of the world, which is such an exciting journey. So tell me a little bit. You led a Girl Scout troop. Is this recent or is it? What was that like?
This was pre-COVID. So,
okay, right.
Yeah, it was super fun. And, having been a Girl Scout in the past and, as a young girl, having had that wonderful experience when my daughter joined the Girl Scouts and the opportunity to help lead her troop arose. I may have been a little naive as to all of the components involved, but it was such a wonderful experience, and to be able to work with these young girls and on their journey, every week, and to see how they're growing and engaging, and then the whole cookie sales. Oh my gosh.
I was blown away.
Yes. Talk about great experience in fundraising.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, to have those goals set and to be helping one another to reach them, I mean, thousands of boxes. I can't even really hold that in my head.
It's
3,000 boxes.
It's crazy to think about that. And just our troop alone, and the acquisition of the boxes once they arrive to town, and then the distribution. But what great lessons, as you said, and setting goals, working together, partnering, problem solving. It's a really, really great experience.
So do troop leaders get to earn those badges as well?
I feel like it.
Because you probably picked up a lot of mad skills along the way as the troop leader, in addition to the girls. So
yeah, and we had and had a lot of fun, doing it. So it was a great experience. But no, they get to keep all the badges.
Oh my goodness. I think that's such a great way to make external all of these wonderful skills, and they're not all straight ahead. They're not all academic skills. They're life skills.
That's right.
Which is great. Well, we're going to take a moment right now to hear from one of our women in business on a challenge point, an aha moment. But when we come back, I'm really excited because we're talking about sort of turning the wheel back and looking at before and where we are now, and our youth who's coming up as future leaders. And we have a future leader that's going to be joining us after the break. Shayla, who's a junior at Sarasota High School, is going to be joining us. She's a former SMARTgirl. Many of you will remember her very specifically. And we'll meet her in just a bit, and she's going to come and join me to really ask you questions from her perspective on the journey.
Super excited.
Fantastic.
Can't wait.
All right.
Well, I've known ever since I was 5. My dad says my first word was cow. That I wanted to spend my life working with animals. I didn't really know until I got, in my 20s how that was going to look. When you go into the high school counselor's office, in Daphne, Alabama, and they say, well, what do you want to do for a living? And you say, I want to work with animals. They point you to vet school. So I dutifully went to Auburn University to enroll in vet school. Figured out really quickly cutting up animals was not what I wanted to do. Kudos to our vets out there in our community, but I can't do that. So I ended up transitioning and got a degree in public relations and marketing from the University of Alabama. And I went on a little trip out to Denver, Colorado, and essentially knocked on the door at the American Humane Association and asked for a job. And they hired me. And that started me off. That was almost 25 years ago.
I think as women, what is most important is that we build each other up. I came from corporate America where I learned about the cat fighting culture and girls keeping each other down and the competition, and the boys had the coffee club in the morning at 8 a.m. Girls had a different mentality, and that's why everything I've done, I've brought the non-competition culture, and I love now seeing the fruit of 30 years later, women still calling me, say, oh my gosh, you actually lifted me up, believed in me, and look at what I'm doing now. That would be the key thing that I would love all women to get comfortable with.
Welcome back, everyone. So the smart girl that I was mentioning before the break, Shayla, is here with us. Shayla, thank you for joining us today. Super excited. So I have a couple of details about you, but then I'll toss it to you to tell us a little bit more about yourself. Shayla came to our program and we got to know her through SMARTgirl. And if anyone out there has seen the video from the 2019 SMARTgirl, Shayla is strong. She's she's fantastic. You interviewed, great. And watch out, Girls Inc., because she is going to be running Girls Inc. in, I don't know, few years, decade, it's going to happen. But you're a junior at Sarasota High School, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so what's been happening with you since we saw you last?
Well, I am now working at Girls Inc., and it's been so awesome to be able to share that experience with the girls that I'm with, and I just love it. I'm there every day, and it's just been awesome.
That's fantastic. And I hear you're also on stage doing theatrical and dramatic work. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I was doing that for a while. I had an awesome time with theater, and it was just so awesome to have that community with those people. But I'm not, unfortunately, doing that anymore. Since COVID, I've really put my focus into Girls Inc. and the girls, and I've been loving that.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about like one experience you've had in working with your girls in Girls Inc. that was just like like home run, like smile on the face, super exciting?
I think it's just every day when I get to
day.
see them get
That's
off
wonderful.
the bus and their big smiles that they're excited to be there, just like I was growing up, like having the same expression and feelings that I did. It's just awesome that I'm able to give that to the girls that I was given when I went there.
That's fantastic. All right, Shayla. So for Jessica here today, you've crafted some great questions for her. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so as you know, I'm a Girls Inc. girl, and our mission is to inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. So do you have one woman in your life that is strong, smart, and bold? And if so, how have they inspired you?
Oh my gosh. So I would have to say my mom, who has unfortunately passed away when I was 19. But she was super smart and super strong and super bold. She is really the person that I dial back to when I, think about those early lessons in my life that I learned and draw strength upon in times when I needed. And she was really, really funny. And so even the times where it was, you have those moments like, oh, Mom, that was a little embarrassing. Looking back now, actually, it was really super funny. And I can look back and laugh at that. But she was really an inspiration to me. And now that I have a daughter, I dial back to how she raised me.
So I can imagine that your job keeps you very busy, but I know work-life balance is super important as well. So do you have any hobbies or favorite things that you do outside of work?
Yeah, so I love to read and have always been an avid reader, and serious stuff, fun stuff, really just try to make space in my life for reading. Really enjoy being in nature. That's fabulous. And then, some self-indulgent, fun things. Cheddar popcorn on a Friday night with a great, TV series. So, making time just to kind of veg out when you need to and disconnect from everything is really, really important. And I would say, too, super important, disconnecting from technology.
For sure.
Just finding the ways to do that, because it can be so easy for us to just kind of be glued to the computer or to the phone. So that's really been something that I've, made myself focus on. And you feel so much better when you're able to do that.
Yeah. Self-care is super important, so
Very
it's
important.
really good to hear that, because your job, I know, definitely probably takes up a lot of your life, but that's really good to know that you also have the other side of life that you're able to enjoy. So in the Hear Me Roar article, you shared a favorite quote that says, "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." Can you talk about what kind of difference that you were kind of referring to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can actually tell you the moment that I first heard that. So I was in graduate school in one of the auditoriums on our campus, and Jane Goodall, who that quote came from, had actually come to our college in Mississippi to speak. And I managed to snag a front row seat. It was kind of, grab the seats as you can, and heard this wonderful, her inspiring life story. And when she said that quote, it just really imprinted onto my heart. and has been something I've always carried with me since, to really, really make sure that, what I'm doing is making a difference. And small differences, big differences, whatever they may be, we can impact, the world. We can impact our communities on a day-to-day basis. So I think when I first heard that and heard her say it in that way, it struck me. There's not one kind of difference that you can make. There's many kinds, and every day.
I think that's really important here too, because I know a lot of times it's easy to get overwhelmed with making big changes and how it's hard to get there, but it's really good that you highlighted that small steps can even get you there and how that's so important.
That's how you get there, right? And I think that, you have to think about the future, but that's in order to determine those steps that you want to take to get there, right? Because everything is a step.
Is there one more on your list that you absolutely
I see a whole
burn?
page there.
I know that you're burning to get out there before we wrap up.
So, like you said, I'm a junior in high school, and I'm in the process of figuring out what college I want to go to when I graduate and what kinds of classes I want to take. So what was your favorite class in college and why?
So I would say I had several favorite classes, but I would say one of my favorite classes was argument and debate. And I had a really wonderful professor who distilled it into, if you want to impress upon others why they should, follow what you're doing, or, believe in something, or take an action, right? Then it's really important to understand if there's another side to that, what that side is. We become more empathetic when we can relate to others. We become more understanding of all of the truths around the situations, and we become better at being able to articulate why something is important. So for me, argument and debate was definitely one of my favorites. I have 2 degrees in communications, so certainly my public speaking class was really, really fun too. We got to do a lot of really, really fun things that involved me actually giving a speech on an MC Hammer song.
Oh, is that on tape anywhere?
I do think my roommate actually has that tape. She hasn't brought it out in any public settings yet, but it was pretty fun.
That's awesome. It makes me think, as we wrap up here today, just about you mentioned sort of taking the perspectives and being empathetic to different points of view. And I think as a community, we are so invested in that because the dialogue keeps changing.
Yes.
The world keeps changing. So if we can get out of that place of just responding, but being a part and having those productive arguments or productive debates about important things in a way that's civil and empathetic, we're just going to go so much farther on being able to bridge the gap between now and tomorrow.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. So can I share just a parting thought with you, Shayla?
Yes, please.
Okay. Because you are so impressive, and I'm so thrilled that we've had this opportunity to be here today. And thank you for coming to the table with your questions. That really means a lot. And I hope you're inspiring so many other girls in our community at Girls Inc., but just in this moment right now. And if I could share just one thing with you as we part, it's that, the path we take in life is usually not straight at all. It's winding and it diverges, and sometimes we get to the end of one and then we scoot back and then we decide to, take another pathway. That is one of the things that I certainly have learned, but really learned to embrace in my own personal journey and my own professional journey. And so as you come to the end of your journey in high school and you're moving into that next journey in college, I just encourage you to keep that in mind, because sometimes we think, oh, I have to be this or I have to be that. And there are many ways to get there. if you have a specific goal in mind. And sometimes, and if you're open to it, maybe that goal that you had becomes bigger or shifts and changes. And I think that's the wonderful thing about living life. So just wanted to share those parting thoughts with you. And I have no doubt you are going to go super far and be super fantastic and achieve every goal that you set.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Shayla. Thank you, Jessica, for being with us and sharing a piece of your life story and your journey as it continues to move forward. And on that wandering journey with life not being a straight line, we hope that you'll be able to join us for the next Women Who Roar podcast as it comes down the pike. Thank you so much for being here with us today.